time we've been waiting on has finally arrived. It's time for conference play. The slates are clean, and we are on the road to March to crown new ASUN men's and women's basketball champions of 2026. I'm William Hall. Welcome back to the ASUN Gameday podcast. And tomorrow, New Year's Day, we get rolling. We've got a full slate of games tomorrow, a full slate of games on Saturday, and then we're off and rolling. We get the ball going, and we just can't wait to get to VyStar to crown our new tournament champions. But first, taking a look back at non-conference action and what we've got going in as conference play gets started. I think on the men's side, the state of Tennessee is in a good position. That's obviously Lipscomb and Austin Peay. Talked about the Bisons on the last episode and what they've been able to do with this new era, the Kevin Carroll era. He's come in, got that team going. I know they suffered a loss here recently, but that team, I think, is caught some people off guard. May not have been expecting Lipscomb to be able to turn around and be in the mix right now as one of the better teams in the conference. Obviously, conference play comes. Got to see if they can carry that on, but I think they have a chance to be towards the top the way they're playing right now. Speaking of the way teams are playing right now, Austin Peay, I think, has had a very strong finish to the non-conference portion of their schedule. Corey Gibson always keeps that team in the mix when all is said and done. I don't see anything different happening with this Govs team as I look at them right now. And speaking of Lipscomb and Austin Peay, both of those are two of our four teams who are undefeated at home during the non-conference portion of the season. So far, that immediately gets put to the test when they've got Jacksonville and North Florida coming to the Volunteer State. So we'll see if those teams can keep those home marks unblemished when conference play gets started. And another team I like to talk about is West Georgia. I think that West Georgia has an opportunity to, I don't want to say shock anybody. I don't think that when you have a player like Shelton Williams-Dryden on the floor for you that you can shock somebody. I think you kind of see him coming. You kind of see what he's done even last year, the numbers that he can put up. But I feel like that team that is on the floor playing this year, I think they can definitely get more conference wins than they had last year. I don't know if I'm ready to say that I think they're going to be at the top of the conference, but definitely top half. I think that team is in position, again, to just kind of, take notice. The Wolves are here. On to the women's side, I think we have to once again talk about Austin Peay. The team's 8-2, a 4-game winning streak, and they are the only team, men's or women's, that right now is undefeated on the road at 5-0. And just like we were talking about with the undefeated at home on the men's side, that road record is going to quickly get put to the test. And we'll talk a little bit more about that game a little bit later in the episode. And there's no way to look past what the 9-4 EKU Colonels have done. They did hit a rough patch there with a few losses in a row, but they were in all those games early, especially that game at Arizona that they fought all the way to the end. And overall, I think that Greg Todd has that team ready to go, as all the teams should be ready to go, because we're here, as I said, that slate's wiped clean. Whatever you've done, you can obviously build off of, but we can't really hang our hats too much on what we've seen in non-conference play because everybody's 0-0 right now. It's what we love to see, Speaking of this last week of non-conference weekly awards that we had going on, just taking a look at that. On the men's side, our player of the week, I already dropped his name once, Shelton Williams-Dryden from West Georgia. Scored 23 points on the road against Georgia to go along with 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals. And our newcomer of the week, a team I've already talked about as well, Austin Peay Govs, Rashard Marshall, shot 60% from the field, scored 24 points in that non-conference finale for the Govs. And on the women's side, Novia Shields averaged 12.5 points on the week, a pair of wins for Austin Peay, along with 11 total rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. Austin Peay also took home Freshman of the Week, Jemiah Brandon, her second Freshman of the Week nod this season. She had 8 assists and 3 steals for the Govs. And Newcomer of the Week came from Fort Myers, Eve Alexander from the FGCU Eagles, shot 86% from the field. 86% from the field. scored a career-high 24 points against Fort Lauderdale, and those were our weekly award winners this week in men's and women's basketball. Conference play is here. Let's talk about some games that are getting our attention. We got a big one we'll talk about a little bit later on, but I think some key games in first week of conference play, first day of conference play. So all these games are games that are taking place tomorrow on the opening day of conference action, New Year's Day. On the women's side, the very first game that's going to take place, Central Arkansas at Stetson. A battle between two teams picked second and third in our preseason coaches poll. The Sugar Bears were second, the Hatters were third. This is a game between two teams that are expected to be in the mix. They've been expected to be in the mix for the regular season, obviously in the mix for the tournament championship, those buys into the quarterfinals of that tournament. So in this very first game of conference play, I think to get that head-to-head win can go pretty far. And West Georgia at EKU. Already talked about EKU, what they've done so far in non-conference, but the Wolves have a 7-4 record themselves, and this should be an exciting game between two of the league's top offenses on the women's side. Two men's games, Jacksonville at Lipscomb. I mentioned earlier about Lipscomb being with their home record, getting put to the test early. It's coming from Jacksonville. Now, the Bisons have won the last 3 times these schools have matched up. However, they have not played in Allen Arena in nearly 2 years. So maybe Jacksonville can reverse things and get a win on the road and snap that losing streak to Lipscomb. And another game, EKU at Queens. Over the past few years, EKU and Queens have both been teams that have been at the top of the standings, two teams that always end up they're in the conversation for one of the top seeds, a team that you don't necessarily want to play that can get things done. I would say both teams, the non-conference coming out, maybe not what they wanted. I know Queens had a very challenging schedule. EKU had some games that I know they would like to get back. But, again, as we already mentioned, it's 0-0 now. But I think with both of these teams really wanting to make a statement coming in the conference play and remind everybody who they are, that's going to make that game one to keep your eyes on. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with our ASUN matchup of the week.
Welcome to the Atlantic Sun, where heart-pounding moments are born and where champions rise above, where speed defies limits and precision finds its mark, where millions of fans nationwide cheer for excellence, determination, and fairness, where public, private, and faith-based schools compete side by side, fostering sportsmanship and unity. From the beaches to the mountains, the Atlantic Sun is the destination.
We are back, and it's time to talk about the ASUN matchup of the week. And this very first matchup of the week for this conference season is taking place in Jacksonville, Swisher Gymnasium. Austin Peay at Jacksonville women's basketball. There are a lot of things that make this game an interesting one to me. First, with Jacksonville being so tough to beat at home, and then Austin Peay, as previously discussed, being the road warriors of ASUN basketball this season. Something has to give. You got a team that's strong at home and a team that can go on the road and get it done. What gives? These teams are very similar, in my opinion. The way they play, the style, they play hard. They play kind of gritty, grinded out basketball. They physical teams, and I think that's been reflected over the scores of these games between these two teams over the last few years. This year, Austin Peay has the best scoring margin of any team, right at plus 14 points. They don't score the most themselves, but they are holding teams to about 55 points per game, which is impressive. So that's going to be a challenge that Special Jennings and their team will have to contend with, that defense that Austin Peay has been showing this season so far. And I think we're all interested to see what Anovia Shields and Priscilla Williams will do on that court individually to help drive their teams to victories. So that's the game. The ASUN matchup of the week, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Jacksonville, Florida. Austin Peay Governors at the Jacksonville Dolphins. Can't wait for that game. Matchup of the week. And that's just one of all the games we've got going on tomorrow, all the games going on Saturday. Again, we are on the road to March, ready to crown new champions of ASUN men's and women's basketball. I'm William Hall. I'm going to stay locked in. You do the same. We'll talk soon.